Hello, everybody. So, part one was really talking about how important it is to recognize the service of all people, whether it is easy to accept or even a little bit harder, such as can be in the case of a father type authority figure who can correct and punish as a service, as a vital service to society and to his family. That being said, on the second video, I spoke a lot about how you can conquer using love and using service, and that if equality were ever to really truly be brought about, it would be through mutual service and kindness and giving to others. This video I thought was very, very important because there are some very subtle things that happen in people and happen in society. And that is going back to my point of a religious and controlling spirit. When you have people who are trying to conquer, sometimes they use unforgiveness. They're trying to basically gain for themselves worldly authority and power. They're trying to get ahead in the world system, and they do that by holding everybody else back. And usually the way that they do that is by finding fault, criticism, and holding grudges and unforgiveness. And it looks, at least for a time, or maybe even a very long time, that it is working, that they're able to hold people back through a horde of different schemes and strategies and all those other different kinds of things. But in actuality, what's really going on is that God is testing that person, because that person who is the true minister, who has forgiven, who has really truly served with their heart, those people are gaining true spiritual authority and power over the person that is using more worldly means to control them. But God doesn't want to hand that sort of power and that sort of control over a person until they have been tested and true. So this is something that is incredibly important. This is really how a child of God rules and reigns with Jesus Christ. They spend a lot of time out in the world serving. They usually don't see much but pain and persecution for it. And then the time comes when God sees that their heart is in the right place and is able to basically be a good steward with the sheep that he has, and then he bolsters them up to power. So, once again, people who are operating in a religious and controlling spirit, they believe that somehow they are going to win over, especially those people who are forgiving and loving, innocent and trusting, who just keeps on serving and loving them. And in actuality, those people are becoming more and more enslaved, and more of who they are is falling underneath the direct authority of the person who is actually serving. It might go some time before that is actually physically seen, but once it's physically seen, it cannot be undone. Once you fall into the enslavement of a son of God, because they are the ones who have served you, you can't undo it. It's sealed. The only way for you to get out is to basically go through hell. Because if you go through hell, if you're holding unforgiveness and bitterness and you're going through hell, then basically, your punishment for basically sending a fellow human being into the prison to pay all that was due is basically falling into hell and the place of torment. So the only option that you could ever have besides falling into the place of torment is basically submitting to the complete and total rule of Jesus Christ and that Son of God. So, how do you make sure? Like I said, I don't personally believe that life is one big giant conquering fest. I actually, even though I believe in authority and I respect authority and I believe it is wonderful society, I actually believe that the less rules, the better, the less authority, the better, the more people can stand on their own sovereign feet, the better. Once again, how do you do that? How do you break free from patriarchy? How do you break free from tyrannical rule? How do you break free from even pastors who are quite, human, who can really truly make mistakes and overcorrect and exploit? How do you make sure? It is by showing gratitude and by serving those who serve you and by making sure that you do your bit. Those who serve the most win, so long as they can endure to the very end. So, I really want to make some very, very specific points. Recognize the people who are serving you. Recognize how service looks to God, because sometimes God can recognize a service done to a person, such as correcting or even punishing a person, done appropriately. And if Jesus recognizes that as a service and you don't, and you hurt that person or you punish them for basically performing a service to you, then you are basically falling underneath the control of that person, the spiritual authority of that person. If they have done a lot for you, if they have been there for you, if they helped you in your darkest hour, if they helped you when you were sick, if they helped you when you were scared, if they listened to you, if they comforted you, and you are withholding good from them because you are trying to win the race of life through worldly means, you will fall underneath the direct enslavement of that person. And once again, once it's sealed, you can't undo it. You can't change God's mind. If God sees that you are unwilling to pay back the services rendered to you, then the only other option would be to fall into hell. So this is very serious, and it's very serious because I personally, once again, do not believe that the goal of life is how many people you can accumulate. It is how many people you help to stand on their own 2 feet. And that is my personal belief.